Welcome to my friends that are People in Production. I am so glad you have joined us today for the People in Production podcast. My name is Ryan Nelson, and I am the host of this podcast. I'm with Circle of Five Coaching, and we focus on developing mid-level leaders in manufacturing. I love hosting this podcast, and I want to start with this question. You know that guy that doesn't say much, but when he does, you know you want to listen closely? I had the opportunity to sit down with one of those guys and learn from his incredible wisdom that he's gained from life experience, from his personal investment in being a student of the industry, and just his insightful nature. That guy is none other than Brandon Worrell from KCSP Machine. And I'll tell you more about that interview in just a minute. But before I go into that, I want to let you know that I want you to sign up for our free manufacturing peer advisory group. This is a group that meets online once a month, and it is such a great conversation. We start just by checking in with people in the industry. Hey, what's going on in your world? How are things going? And then I'll usually share a little bit of a leadership tip. Spend a few minutes talking about that and engaging in some dialogue about that. And then we have our hot seat moments at the end where we just take a real life issue that some of our leaders are dealing with and we just break it open. Hey, what questions do we have? What insights can we share? How can we help this person navigate this challenging situation? Whether we have 4 people there or 50 people there, there is something that everyone walks away from in this event. So encourage you, if you are interested in learning more about that, go to circleof5coaching.com/free and you can sign up for that. It really is free. It's just something that I want to bring to the community and encourage you all and build a community. So let's talk about this great interview with Brandon. It's not great because I'm interviewing him. It's great because of who he is. And in part 1 of this interview with Brandon, we're going to hear about his transformative journey of buying into KCSP and how he had to go through the process of rebranding an old company into a new identity and focus on the precision machining that they're doing now. It's great insights. I love hearing from him. And then we'll discuss the operational strategies and the workplace culture and the importance of networking within the manufacturing sector. Brandon offers some great insights. You're going to love this interview. Stick around, and at the end, I'll let you know a little bit about where he takes us in part 2. All right, Brandon, we are officially recording now, man. It is great to have you here. Thanks for taking the time to invest in a conversation today.
Sure, absolutely happy to do it.
So you are with KCSP Machine, and that is formerly known as Kansas City Screw Products. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
All right. So you've changed it to KCSP. Let's just start there. Why the name change? Why was that an important transition for your company?
Uh, Kansas City Screw Products, it's been around since 1946.
Okay.
So it was kind of a big decision, but it started out originally as a screw machine shop making screw products. But over the years, the previous owner, Steve Leiter, had added CNC machining, and I felt like that had become a very big part of the business,
Yep.
and still do some screw machine work, and still get that kind of work, but it was really kind of balanced out over time. So I felt like um, in the future, I kind of wanted to upgrade our technology. That was one of my big goals, was to upgrade our equipment and modernize it, which meant eventually getting away from the screw machines. So I thought, in order to kind of build a foundation for that, rebranding would be a good idea. And as a new owner coming in, that's the time to do it. And I think people understand when that ownership. I was going to be talking to all the customers about an ownership change, so probably going ahead and making that change, it was the time to do it. So I wanted to transition to something that was a little more just related to precision machining, which is what we do, rather than specific to screw machines and screw products.
It's so important, Brandon, that um, what you say and what you are um, match each other, and saying things in writing versus in person, it all represents the brand. And I really respect what you're saying about, hey, we are becoming more than this, and we don't want to be pigeonholed into this, because then we have to do a whole nother layer of complexity in sales to get past what people think we only do.
Right. And anytime I talk to somebody about the business, they're all, "Oh, well, so you make screws, you know?" So that was a challenge.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to get past that. We don't just make screws, we're more than that.
So let's understand the scope of your business, and then we're going to go back and learn a little bit about how you got into this business to begin with. So you're a 79-year-old company. You've got some clients that you've had for multiple decades and stuff.
Mhm.
But tell us about the services that you provide. Who is your ideal client that you want to serve?
Well, we do precision machined parts, and we specialize in that. And there are a lot of shops similar to ours that might do some fabrication or assembly or welding and things like that. We kind of eschew all that. We stick to our core, which is precision machined parts. Now, that may be on a CNC lathe, a CNC mill, a Swiss machine, or a screw machine, but that's really what we stay focused on.
Yeah.
So that's number one, what we do. Our ideal customer is uh, another manufacturer who has machinery of their own, or maybe they are what I was saying, like somebody who does more assemblies, and they have parts that go in those assemblies or those machines, their end products that they either can't do or don't want to do. And so we step in there and we serve that role in their supply chain.
Yeah. That's great, man. And so your partners, do they tend to be local, or do you do regional, or do you do outside of the region? Where are your ideal clients located?
For us, it's kind of a combination. Some of our biggest clients are outside of the region, but we do quite a bit of work locally as well.
And do you
So
do a lot of short run stuff, or is it more repetitive, longer run stuff?
we do it all. So in terms of quantities, we've helped several customers with prototyping. They just want 10 of these to try them out, and we might even go through several iterations with them. So we'll do short run stuff, prototyping stuff, and then we'll roll right into the production level stuff. So we might do, you know, 5 parts, 10 parts, and then turn around and do 5,000.
Okay, very good.
Yeah.
And do you have engineering in house, or do you work with their company's engineer as the primary lead in the project?
We don't do engineering,
Okay,
so we are a print to part shop. So you bring us the print, and we'll turn it around.
excellent.
Now we do lots of consulting with engineers. They'll bring a print to us, and we'll help them with machinability. Can the part be machined and manufactured? Um, so we do consult in that way. And we get some customers that come to us, and maybe they just have a hand drawing or something, and we will put a print together according to their specifications for them, kind of small, low level stuff like that. But we don't really do engineering.
Yep, that's great feedback. That's helpful to put that context out there. So tell me about your personnel. Tell me about the people that you have in your company. For the record, you've owned the company a little over a year. Is that right?
About a
So
year and a half.
your staff, what percentage of them are new since you've acquired it? How many of them have been here for a couple of years versus do you have any long-term staff?
I do have some long-term staff, so we are a small shop, and I have my plant manager is one of the reasons I bought this company is I knew I had this guy. I had not had a chance to meet him personally, which is part of that acquisition process. But he's a 40-year guy, just celebrated 40 years in 2024. Um, he's just a top level machinist and human being, and he's still going strong, and he's the heart of the shop, and he's going to help me transition to the future, and I'm just kind of humbled to have a guy like that in my service here.
And I want to
Um,
pause there because sometimes people see older abilities and all they can think about is the fact that I might not be able to keep that person because they might be getting close to retirement or whatever. But I love your ability to say, I know a proven track record and I believe we can create systems to bring other people along. So even when the day comes for him to leave, if we harness that knowledge that he has and make it replicatable, then we're going to have an organization that can't be stopped even after he leaves.
yeah, exactly. And one thing I'm really grateful for is he understands that himself, and he's wants to help in that transition.
Yeah.
Keep the shop moving forward, and train new people. So on top of him, I have a couple other guys that are like 15 year guys, and then I have some. I have a female machinist who's been about 3 years. She may be 4 years now. And then I have added three people, and one of which is just starting on Monday, uh, to the shop, trying to, and I've gone through that process of hiring, trying to find and hire experienced machinists. It's a challenge, but we've done a pretty decent job of
That's great.
it.
So how do you bring that the people that have been there 14, 15 years and 40 years, obviously there's a existing culture there. How do you bring in this new talent and blend them into the culture rather than create two isolated sections that don't see eye to eye on things?
Well, I will say that when I purchased the business and got to know the previous owner, who was the third generation owner, his grandfather had started the original Kansas City Screw Products. Um, I just had a really good rapport with him, and felt like he was a good guy. And I, you know, had a gut feeling that the kind of culture he would have promoted in his shop would be one that I felt like I would be would be welcoming and positive, that I would be happy to be a part of. And that turned out to be the case. And so when I recruit, um, I want to recruit people. It's important to recruit people that are going to maintain that culture. So it's as much about their skill sets, their experience, but also, are they going to have the same attitudes we have here of, teamwork, positivity, and um, you know,
Yeah. I love that intentionality. And I think so many people, we often get so bogged down in filling holes that we don't give the proper regard to that culture piece. And anything else that you would want to say? Because you're a smaller shop, but what would you say to a shop your size or even a larger shop about why you're protecting that so intentionally?
I mean, culture means everything. At the end of the day, you've got to have everybody pulling together. And I'm not perfect at it, I'm just trying to do my best. And I think I've done a pretty decent job of bringing in people who fit in. Um, Over the year and a half here, I have stubbed my toe, and it's hard to be disciplined, because you're in a production environment. You've got customers with deadlines, and at some point you're like, gosh, I just need somebody in here. But uh, you have to stick to your guns. It's really important, because bringing somebody in who's going to um, harm your culture is just a big mistake. And
Yeah.
as painful as it is, you got to stick it out.
Yeah. And it's very costly. it costs a lot to have an open spot. I've seen some reports where it costs like $14,000 a year to have an empty spot. Obviously, that can go up to 250,000. But when you hire someone that's the wrong person, you
Yeah.
lose the time of investment, you lose the material that you lose because it was the wrong person who couldn't acclimate to what's needed. Plus, you lose the goodwill of the clients that you fall behind on trusting that this person's going to meet it. The cost
Yeah.
of a bad hire is much more costly than not hiring while you wait to get the right hire.
Right.
And so I appreciate your discernment and your encouragement.
I
in
think
that.
that's true.
So here, I'm going to share this. So you've been a part of the free monthly peer advisory group that I host and stuff. And one of the things
Uh,
that I've learned from you, you're such a great listener. And I not only say that because you listen well in our conversations, but when you respond, it's very discerning. I remember one time that I had shared something and I said, "Well, and everybody does this." And I asked, "What do you think, Brandon?" And you paused for a moment and you said, "Well, I wouldn't say everybody." And I just appreciate how discerning you are in the words that you speak. As a shop owner, um, how important is that? Because so often under the pressure of deadlines, you say you stubbed your toe at times and stuff, but under the pressure of deadlines, sometimes we bark out the demands without being filtered. Help me understand
yeah.
a little bit of what you've learned in your year plus in your shop.
Uh, well, I've learned it not only from my time in my shop, but I've owned and operated a business before, and you just learn it over time. It is tough to control your emotion when you're like, for instance, you're just getting so behind in your production schedule, and everything is conspiring, and you feel like you just want to say, let's what's going on, let's get this stuff done. Why can't we do this? Why can't this happen? And you have to just be able to take a little pause, realize how destructive that would be, how wrong it would be, and unfair. Because you have to assume positive intent with your staff. Like everybody's out there, they're trying their best. Everybody wants to do a good job. Everybody wants to be reliable and get their work done. Mistakes happen.
I want to camp on that a little bit because I love the phrase assume positive intent. Um, I think sometimes as ownership or managers, we start thinking people are just there for the paycheck and we've got to push harder to get more out of that paycheck. Um, that mindset, I think it's lacking in a lot of shops, this assume positive intent. Um,
Yeah,
how do you connect the dot for people to understand that what they're doing is more than just exchanging time for a paycheck, but they're actually making a difference in aerospace, or they're making a difference in fuel distribution, or whatever field.
right,
How do you connect the dots to make it more than changing time for a paycheck?
right. Well, a couple of things. It's about your own organization. It's also about the organizations that you're impacting, like you said. So, as far as like what we do for our customers, I do try to make a point to uh, when I'm talking to people on the shop floor, they're working on a particular project or a part. Let if I know something about that customer, I know something about that part. I'm going to talk to them about it. Hey, do you know who this company is? Do you know what they do? Do you know what this part goes on? Because I'm out there talking to those customers. I'm doing all the research about them. I know that this part goes on this piece of machinery that does this, and I think that's pretty cool. I mean, that's one reason I'm here is because I think what we do here is cool. And so I try to impart that to them, like, hey, this is we do some military stuff. This is a part that goes on this piece of machinery, this weapon or whatever. This is a part that goes on this geotechnical machine. It's pretty cool what it does. I think they appreciate that. Give them some context. Uh,
And
anyway,
I
I think
talked to
that's
some shops about the importance of understanding that this isn't about what happens in the walls of this building. It's what the things from in the walls in this building go to that make a difference in people's lives. And I try to encourage
yeah,
leaders, try to connect those dots for your people because it makes them feel like they're having an impact, not just doing busy work.
yeah, absolutely. And we play an important role in these customers' businesses and in their end customers' lives. So yeah, you do have to impart that. And then as far as internally, uh, I'm not very good at this right now. I will totally admit that, but it's something that's on my radar to be better at is just communicating with people about how the business is going, where the business is going. I have developed like a vision, and I want people to see where I want to take the business, what I want to do for it, and I've been able to communicate that over time, not as I think consistently as I need to, but you have to. Um, Sell people on your vision you have to have a vision and you have to sell people on that vision. It has to be something that they're going to contribute to and benefit from, and you have to be telling them about it.
Yeah. And that could
That's
be a
really
long
important.
conversation because if your vision changes every week, then your people can't really trust that. But if you've really done the work to create a vision that you're committed to, then your people feel a sense of stability because you keep casting the same vision over and over again and it starts sinking in.
Yeah, and you have to do your part. Like, you can't keep selling a vision and the vision's not happening, right? They have to
Yep.
see that progress. You have your responsibility, so they know what you're doing to drive the business forward.
Yeah.
uh, you've got your role to do too. You
That's
can't
so
just sit
good.
back.
That's
No.
so good. So, in a moment, I'm going to ask you a little bit about how you got into this industry. But before we jump into that, I would love to hear from you a little bit about um, you've been a part of KCNTMA now for the time that you've been there. Was the shop
Yeah.
a part of KCNTMA before you were there, or did you join KCNTMA?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I Steve wasn't when I bought the business. He may have joined for a brief period in the past,
Yep.
but
Understood.
he wasn't like he wasn't actively participating or
Yeah.
anything.
So, what prompted you to get on board with KCNTMA?
When I bought the business, I did not come from a manufacturing background, so I came, more from a technology background. So I have like my network and connections and things are in that industry in Kansas City. And I just knew immediately I needed to, find my people, find my support group, other people doing what I was now going to be engaging in. And yeah, so that was the main thing. It's getting into that community, finding people that I could reach out to if I needed to, or uh, return the favor down the road. I think it's just really important. So I joined the NTMA. I've been trying to be as active in that as I can, and you know. Was invited to join the board, so that's great. I'm super happy about that. I also joined the Kansas City Manufacturing Network, KCMN, which is run by the Kansas and the Missouri MEPs. Um, and that's been great. And yeah, so I get to meet a lot of people um, and other manufacturers, and I get to, the shop tours are amazing, and um, it's just been a real benefit.
So, in the year that you've been a part of it, um, has the value been just in whatever emails you occasionally get, or is it the shop tours that are important to you, or is it the networking events? What have you found has helped you understand and grow your business?
I mean, it's really about people. It's relationships. Um, I've had, community's pretty welcoming, and that's been great. And so I've just been able to talk to people and get good advice. And, now I've got some numbers I can call if I have a question. And, yeah, I mean, that's it. It's
Yep.
people, relationships, and sometimes just having a relationship with somebody who's going through the same experience as you are, and maybe they've been doing it a while. And it's just, I think, healthy psychologically to just know those people and be able to talk to them every once in a while.
Yeah, that's great, man. Great insights. I appreciate you sharing that. That was great stuff from Brandon. I know you appreciated that. I can't wait for you to hear a part 2 that'll come out in our next episode. He goes deeper into some of the mindset of what he was looking for as a buyer into a manufacturing organization. And I'd love for you to check that out. Would you do me a favor? Would whatever app that you're using, whether it's you're listening on any of the podcast services or you're listening on YouTube, I need you to do 2 things. Number 1, I need you to subscribe. That helps me be found. I tell people, hey, check out People in Production podcast. And sometimes it can be hard because we're a startup. So the more subscribers we get, the easier it is for people to find us. Number 2, I'd love for you to leave a comment. And don't comment about me. Talk about the insights that you got from Brandon. Let him know how much you appreciate his wisdom and him investing his time in this conversation. I really appreciate it. Next week, you'll hear some great stuff from Brandon. I can't wait for you to hear what he has to say about running a company and buying a company and all the knowledge that will bring to you as a leader in your company. It's going to be great.